you can forget about all that and come roll Kimbap with us, man. It's pretty good. I don't know if you can see. We've been doing a lot of testing in the back, but like,
Ooh, I might need to do a little boot camp.
yeah, little boot camp. But you might as well just come taste our food, see if it's worth because the food has to taste good. All the social media stuff that we're still doing,
Oh
you
wait,
know.
you're also starting pre-orders or on June, right? According to the
Yeah,
video.
we're so we've sped things up quite a bit. We found a shared kitchen. We've gotten an agreement with them. We've gone to the city of Chicago. We are done with all of our paperwork. We're going to go to the
Ooh.
health department tomorrow to get a consultation on our menu and stuff that we're selling. After that's done, all we have to wait for is a finance background check on me and Jimmy, just to make sure we're not like millions of dollars in debt. And then after that, we are good to use that shared kitchen and sell whatever. So once that happens, which theoretically should, we did this last week, and so they said it takes about 10 to 15 days for the financial check and then this health consultation. I have no idea how in depth it is, but we'll go and see how it is tomorrow. But after that, once we get the shared kitchen user license, then like we already have a business license. We have a wholesalers, like the sales tax exemption. We have all the licensing that we need to get started. So we're gonna do a pre-order as soon as we get our license. Like we basically want to be able to start selling.
Ooh.
So the first pre-order is probably gonna be around 100-ish rolls, with I don't know however many orders of chicken that we can make, and we'll sell that for probably Saturday. We'll probably start doing stuff bi-weekly, and so every other week we will um do either a pre-order or a pop-up. Hopefully we can do start we might apply for a pop-up license as well, but like hopefully we can start doing pop-ups at some place, and then hopefully we can do it on a bi-weekly basis and like actually get a little bit of traction. That's what we're hoping for.
Well, I mean, since our last call, a lot has happened. Uh, I don't know if you remember, but I guess before this, uh, we were also waiting on the launch of the Instagram. Well, not the launch, but
I think it was a week
we,
after we launched.
yeah, we launched. So there's been, subsequent other videos that came up. Any
Yeah.
new insights from that?
No, I mean, to be honest with you, we have no idea why the first one did so well. I think it's very much luck based, right? Like the algorithm is hard to tell, and like I think we didn't force it to go into like we didn't force the algorithm or anything, but we did have a lot of friends that shared that were really really helping us out, and like there was a
Hmm.
lot of interactions just from our friends alone that I think sort of kickstarted that video, and
Hmm.
then it just I guess the algorithm took off with it. I will say the subsequent videos are doing well, but they're like sort of where our expectations were at, which was sort of somewhere in the few thousands to like maybe 10K.
Hmm.
I will say over like the last like few videos, they've definitely been tapering down, but for us, it's not like we look at those numbers, but at the same time, we don't care too much about the numbers because the type
Hmm.
of content that we're putting out is not necessarily geared towards like the most viral thing, right? If it was the most viral thing, like we'd throw boxes at each other and like whatever that trend is. And we still
Oh,
might do
you
that,
know. I
you know.
recently learned about it, so.
Yeah, like I feel like by the time I know it's probably already like sort of passed by. But like we could do stuff like that too. Like I mean we might in the upcoming future, but like what we wanted it to be at the beginning was a little bit more informational of like here's where we're doing, here's where we're at, here's what our food looks like. We're probably going to post our menu in the next week or so, so that people can get accustomed to it before they order. But we do want to make sure that like the timing of it is sort of aligned so that once we launch the menu, we're going to have like a advertisement-esque video. Um, and then we'll hopefully get those two sort of side by side right before pre-order. And then we'll obviously post a lot of stories and a lot of posts about like we're getting ready for it, like it's coming soon. Here's the date, here's the time in which the form is going to be live. You have
Mhm.
to, here's all the logistics, like you have to prepay, you have to do this. Um, but yeah, I will say it's just and I think we've known this from the start. I think the first video definitely caught us off guard, but it's a numbers game, right? So it's the more times you post, the more you sort of gain new followers, and hopefully the idea is that we get enough attraction where people want to try our food.
Mhm.
And like we're not again, I don't think the intention was ever that we wanted to be social media influencers by any means or content creators. I think the idea is just like how do we most effectively try and get a little bit of marketing out there, which I think, to be very honest, like we already have 1,500 followers or something like that, which again for us was pretty incredible to see. A large part of that definitely was because of that first video, thanks to that first video. So we've
Mm,
definitely gotten off to a good start. But yeah, I mean the algorithm is sort of really hard to predict.
hmm
Um, and I have a couple people that I know that are like social media like influencers or like content creators, and they always say the same thing. It's hard to get recognized by the algorithm unless and then once you find something that does get recognized, then you just have to sort of rinse and repeat.
mm,
Um, which for us, I don't really know if that makes sense, just because our story is sort of ever evolving, and like we just want to record what we're doing.
mm,
And so like even though the video that we launched today was a very low effort just informational. Like a lot of these videos that we've done before for us were very high effort just because there's a lot of clips that we need to think about. There's a lot of editing, and then there's like a lot of iterations on these videos. And so to post them twice a week, it had was getting a little bit too much. And so I think this type of sort of update video, I think people were curious to know when they could actually buy our food. And so we wanted to make sure that people knew that it was coming. Um, but I will say this is a little bit of a I've been rambling for a little bit, but this definitely is a little bit of a trickier piece for us, I think, with social media now that we've
mm,
gotten so much engagement. Just because I think Jimmy and I we want to make sure that we're authentic to ourselves and we're still trying to figure out what our brand identity is. And so then the question of brand becomes right now we are branding it about us, about me and Jimmy and our story to get here. In the future, we want the restaurant to be the brand, right? We want the food to be recognized before anybody recognizes us. But it's just going to take a lot of time to get there, and we have to start with this because it's just easier than it just takes a lot of time to build something great, which I think everybody says. And I think we just got really lucky with that first video.
mm, mm. Yeah, no, it definitely takes time. I think I definitely agree with that. Um, yeah, it seems like there's a lot of pieces coming together now, especially with the video of introduction of Jimmy as well, to the videos. That's been fun, and also the shared kitchens. So I guess that launch in person, well, the pre-orders are going to really help you understand uh, who you're working with and where people are ordering from and all that. So very exciting.
Yeah, I will say, I mean, for us, like marketing and these social media posts is like it's one piece of the puzzle.
Mm,
In reality, what Jimmy and I need to worry about the most, I think, is as a business, right? Like and for Kimbap especially, it's all about accessibility, the price point. The taste obviously has to be good, but that's table stakes. If your food doesn't taste good, you're never going to survive anyway. So then it is about how fast can we scale, like how fast can we be really accessible for people so that people who go to work and we make it sort of automatic. Like there's going to be a Chipotle at every corner that you go to. You know that there's going to be a Potbelly that's really close by, especially in downtown.
mm,
We want to be something like that in the presence of someone's mind, right? The idea of branding of being like I think somebody told me about this, but it's the idea of branding is just basically there is a physical and like emotional. I don't know if it's emotional or mental. Just it takes up presence, right? So it's
mm,
either in the form of it being present, physical, so you can actually see the store, or it's in your mind of when I think about lunch, what are my options? I think about Potbelly, I think about Chipotle, I think about Panda Express. Panda Express not so much, but a sandwich or just salad or protein bar. Like those are the things that come to mind.
mm,
So it has to take up space, emotional space, mental space, physical space, some space. And I think that's what really good branding does.
mm. And I think we kind of talked about this in our previous kind of calls, is that it's also important to like follow what's happening around you. Like you said that the Chicago food scene, especially with Korean food, is on the rise. So being on that trend as well, it's going to definitely help with that as well.
I agree. Yeah, I will say I've also like it's very easy to get so wrapped up in your own little bubble because like I don't really see anybody. Like I work at a couple restaurants, so like those are really the people that I spend the most time with now.
Hmm
And besides that, the only thing I'm really doing is this keep up thing. It's hard to be objective sometimes, and
mm
so I think something that I'm trying to balance, especially with the social media thing, now that it's so public, and now that once you see those numbers, it's really hard to stay away from numbers, right? And once you see that first video do so well, very intuitively, you're like, I wish the other videos did just as well. but
mm,
then there would be no way that we keep up with demand. Like it just doesn't make any sense.
mm,
And so like we have to manage expectations, I think, for myself personally and for Jimmy and for our team that's helping us. Um, so yeah, and then I think the question of like, do we, basically the execution piece is what's always difficult, I think, of like, do we reduce the number of times that we post to once a week, to once every two
mm,
weeks, but like make it higher quality? Like, what kind
mm,
of stories do we want to make
mm,
versus what stories do people want to see?
mm.
Uh, so yeah, I don't know. I think it's just gonna be a numbers game, right? We just keep plugging and chugging and just don't worry too much about what the numbers look like, and then just figure out what we want to tell people and what we want to show. And that will take care of itself for the marketing piece. And then for the food, like we're still like even now we're still testing a lot of the, especially the meat kimbaps, because the meat is tricky because it can't be dry, but it still has to have a lot of flavor. But it can't like you can't have too much moisture, otherwise it breaks.
Mm.
And so like I think that's it's just what keeps on, and then you realize that the cuts of meat that you need are going to be more expensive if you want to get better quality, which makes a lot of sense. And then you're like, ah, crap. Well, the estimated food costs that we had were not based on these prices, and so it's just a constant back and forth on the food side. Um, so there's all these different avenues that I think just take a little bit of bandwidth in my mind.
Mm.
So I don't know how it looks to you, when you see things on social media. And somebody else told me this the other day that it looks like we really know what we're doing, but like I'm like, the more I know, the less I know.
Yeah. Kind of listening to your definition of how you want to utilize social media, I kind of thought of live streams, like how like celebrities in Korea especially use live streams to, let's say, quote unquote, communicate with their fans. And I'm curious if you ever thought of doing live streams instead of just these structured posts and reels.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I just sometimes think about like what the purpose of these things are, right?
Hmm.
Like for some of these reels, like the purpose is to be informational.
Hmm.
Other times it's just gonna be funny, right? Like
Hmm.
there's always usually always a purpose. Like if we were to do a live stream, I'm just not really sure what the value proposition would be for the people that are watching
Hmm.
yet. Like if we had something really interesting, then like I would love to live stream it. But I feel like a live stream is for celebrities that where like people care about just them in general.
Hmm.
But for us, it's not about us. I think we want to make it towards the Kimbap. So I guess we could live stream us making it, but then I don't know. Like to me, it just doesn't feel interesting. So I'm not really sure.
Hmm. I'm also curious then. I know that you mentioned about the first video really popping off and I guess the later ones not going to the extent as the first video did. And I guess one different differentiation from I guess the first one and then a lot of the other ones that came after that was your emphasis on, quitting your job, especially in MBB consulting. Have you ever considered like just continue kind of using that buzzword of MBB in your other videos as well, or were you trying to move away from that?
No, I mean we can. Honestly, I think maybe what I was thinking was for the pre-order, one of
Hmm.
the videos leading up to that was gonna be like maybe I quit my MBB consulting job and we're finally doing a pre-order for our Kimbap or something
Hmm.
like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that the hook always stays the same, to your point.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, it's very much possible. Again, I think
Mm,
I'm actually at a point where more ideas are good. But the hook it can always be that. I just don't really know what comes after. So like maybe the
mm,
next video we can try doing
mm,
that.
mm, mm,
It's a good point, actually. I thought about that today on the way to the grocery store. I was
mm,
thinking about it a little bit, and I was like, I think when I say I quit my MBB consulting job, that's
mhm,
like that's what drew a lot of people in, especially people that don't know who I am.
mhm.
So that makes a lot of sense, Paul. What else? What other ideas do you have?
Do you know the guy John Hu?
John who?
Yeah, it's John, and then his last name is Hu.
I do not.
He's this ex Goldman Sachs guy who started a creator economy uh application or platform. It's called
Oh.
Stan.
Hmm.
I like when I first saw your videos, it resembled of his videos. He milks this kind of concept of I'm an ex-investment banker and now I'm this startup CEO. And he
Hmm.
starts off every video with that phrase, like
Hmm.
most of his videos.
Hmm.
And if you look at a lot of his YouTube content, I don't do TikTok, so I don't know his TikTok content, but if you look at his YouTube content, a lot of it is actually on like corporate American like advices and tips.
Hmm.
But then he kind of has these videos also about his company sprinkled amongst his other videos.
Hmm.
So what I thought was really interesting about his video is that basically his product or his platform is a platform for creators, I think, to I forgot like make more money or something.
Hmm.
But I really thought was interesting was that he was basically starting to attract a following of these very smart people who go into investment banking trying to make some money, but then burn out and they're like, you know what? Maybe I should look into something else.
Hmm.
And then he's this kind of model of someone who went out their way to start something new.
Yeah.
And I felt like maybe there's just a lot of people, even outside of Chicago, just worldwide, where people feel that they're stuck in their job, maybe doing a job, something like MBB, and they've always dreamed of starting something new. And you are the one who kind of was able to overcome that and start something new. And maybe that's why it attracted so much people. Of course, I don't know, but I'm curious maybe if that kind of feeling where, oh, like I want to support this person because basically I'm stuck and this person already like made their way of doing it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's at least, the first impression that people got and were attracted to checking out your Instagram stories.
Yeah. I will say that there's also that Bean Burrito guy that I really like. But he also just starts off every video with I quit my 9 to 5.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's nothing like, he doesn't say his company or anything, but this guy, like specifically John Hu, you should check him out. He starts off, I don't know, like all if he does for all of his videos, but I remember watching quite a several of them, and it starts off with saying like, "Oh, I'm a ex Goldman Sachs investment banker," and I remember even just seeing some of his videos just about his like day-to-day role and what he did in Goldman Sachs. But then at the end of the day, the purpose of his channel is basically to show people what's happening behind his business as he creates it. And he always says that I think it's like a $10 billion evaluation or something like, or a $1 billion evaluation. Like he says his goals that like, oh, I'm gonna continuously show you my like journey until I hit a certain
Yeah.
number of ARR
Yeah.
and things like that. But it's really interesting. Like he like I remember seeing this episode of like him interviewing his venture capitalist who invested in his company, and he was like, "Why'd you invest in me?" And then like giving tips and blah 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 blah. But at the end of the day, like it goes back to showing like he's promoting his platform for creators.
Yeah, I like that. Because we have a shopping video that's coming up on this Thursday. Maybe what we'll do is at the beginning we'll throw that hook in there, and then it'll just be like, "Hey, I quit my 9 to 5, and I'm trying, making a kimbap business here. Come with us on a grocery
Yeah,
shopping haul or something like
yeah.
that."
I think that's the fun of social media. You like test out these different things, like maybe nine to
Yeah,
five, maybe MBB or whatever it
yeah,
might be, and then you try
yeah,
these variations. And but I
yeah.
just thought it was interesting. I thought you knew that person, so I didn't really mention it before. But
Mm-mm.
when you started with that video, the first video I saw, I thought, wow, like you must have watched this guy's video.
Oh no, not. Oh, I mean, I just figured I had to milk MBB somehow. Like my 3 years spent there, I had to. But maybe I need to
Yeah,
milk it a little bit more. It seems like.
yeah. I
So
mean,
Paul,
he
this
he
is
re he reuses some of his videos, so his
yeah.
shots. So
Paul, we also reuse some of our shots, but like
yeah, yeah. So
Paul, this is why we need you over here in Chicago. Got
I'll
great
make a trip. I'll
insights.
make a trip. But yeah, no, I think that's very exciting. And I remember, I think your focus on quality food and quality product at the beginning is always what's going to make the difference.
Yeah,
But
it's true.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree. I think it's all about, can we make this food actually taste good? And that's just the base, right? Like the reality is how can we keep our costs low? As a business, how can we actually make money? And how do we deliver value to customers in a way that other people
hmm
aren't? And
hmm
and all that stuff. And like sort of all that stuff is like the fluffy like business stuff, at the top.
Hmm.
The reality is like day to day, I'm literally like doing dishes half the time.
Yeah, yeah, that's the behind works, I guess.
No, it's fun to think about this stuff when I talk to you, but like right after this, I have to go clean this, and then I have
Yeah,
to write down a bunch of ingredient lists so that we can go to the health department tomorrow.
yeah.
So, but that is really good. Maybe I might rethink this next video that we have coming up,
Mhm, mhm,
because I sort of like that. So maybe there's a better hook in there somewhere because we've been trying different ones, but like obviously
mhm,
I think this one, there's a reason why the first one worked. So
mhm. Yeah, and also like maybe just as an outsider, I know you mentioned about hey, like um I, I, you mentioned that you don't know what would come after if you did like a live stream, but I think there's also ways to also like um gain eyeballs because at the end of the day, your goal is to grow your kimbap business.
Mhm.
But in order to grow your kimbap business, you need customers. And in order to get customers, you need to get eyeballs. And that's why you started your social media.
Mhm.
And just any way you could kind of lead people into getting their attention is
Mhm.
what's the goal of your efforts in social media, showing your face
Yeah,
and
exactly. Yeah.
potentially doing these pop-ups. So I'm curious, like, I don't know, maybe down the line, I always think you're a great public speaker. You have the humor, the confidence. I'm wondering, live stream would be pretty cool. You could always
Yeah.
have that detached line saying, "Hey, if you're also a corporate 9 to 5 person thinking about starting a new venture, like, hey, I'll be live streaming for 30
Yeah.
minutes. Come down,
Yeah.
I'll answer some questions candidly, and you build a community like that. And if you once you build a community." I guess that's what you want, right? Like to
Yeah.
have
That's the whole point.
people believe in the vision. And you mentioned, oh, I don't like
Yeah.
the brand is still being in the makes. And I think when you see people that you're serving, maybe the people becomes the brand. But when you don't have the people like physically in front of you and you don't see them eating or enjoying, it's very difficult to say it's a community or brand when it's just two of you trying to get your food out there. So I'm
I will
curious
say,
if that
yeah.
momentum helps you out.
Yeah, I mean, because also a lot of the messages that we basically receive, like basically all the DMs are about MBB or like of me quitting my job. They're like, that's super inspirational, or like I've done that too, or like like they're very supportive of the fact that I'm trying something, not necessarily about the actual business itself. So maybe that is the point that I need to push of like, maybe for the shopping haul, like stuff feels a lot more expensive when you're not making MBB money.
Exactly. Yeah. And I bet people are going to be like triple like that comment
Yeah.
or, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. Paul, look out for this next video. I'm gonna put some thought to that actually right now after we end this call. Talk with
Hmm.
Jimmy about
Hmm.
it. But I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely. It seems like there's a lot of unseen, just, I guess, unfun work that happens outside of
Yeah,
just
but I
like,
mean it's I mean it's still fun. I mean I think it's what happens with everything, right? It's like
Mhm.
you can't, and not everything is gonna be all fun all the time. I think sometimes there's just things that have to get done. And like honestly, I got really drunk a couple days ago with some coworkers from work, and then I wasted yesterday laying in bed because I was hungover, and I was like, I can't keep doing that. And so learning a lot of lessons along the way. Uh,
Mhm.
but I will say there's a reason why I now understand. There's a reason why people don't do this. Um, yeah, I think we're still yeah, we're figuring things out one at a time. I think Jimmy and I still feel good. I think our
Mhm.
food is still tastes pretty good. I think whenever you come here and try it, I think most people, when they try the food, they're like, it's pretty good, which always gives us a lot of confidence.
Mhm.
So,
It's been a while, but I do want to ask this question again, I guess. How do you feel about the decision that you've made uh, to quit your job and be pursuing this? And also, it's your 20s, so just kind of thinking about everything.
yeah.
Um, how is the journey right now for you? How do you feel?
It's tough. I don't know what I said last time. I'm sure it's something along the same lines, but there's no part of me that ever regrets my decision to quit MBB for all of its glory, and like I always say, there is definitely merit in it, and I learned a ton from it. But it's not where I want to be. It's not, what I'm choosing to be. I have no regrets. I think I've made the right decision. All in on my path ahead. I'm very excited for what's to come. I fully believe that I can do something. I don't know what it is yet, but I'm sure I will get there. I think I have a lot of potential. I'm confident in what I can do. I don't obviously know a lot of things. I'm still figuring things out, and I'm sure I'll make a lot of mistakes along the way, especially with Jimmy. But like the relationship that Jimmy and I have is very strong. I think we make a very good, sort of a team, and um, there's a lot of uncertainty. I think this is the same no matter what kind of sort of new thing or like job. Like if you quit your job and you try something new, regardless of what field it is in, there's always a lot of uncertainty. The risk that you're taking is very real, right? Like I look at my bank account now and I'm like, wow, it's going one way and not the other. Um, but I'm making enough to live. There's no change to the quality of my life. I make different decisions now because of certain things,
Mm,
but like I was fully prepared for that. And so for the time being, when I'm 28 and I have no obligations or risks to anyone else, I will choose to live the way that I want to live. And so later down the line, when I'm a little bit older and I don't have as much energy, I won't be like, oh, I wish I did that instead. So
mm,
I think I'm crossing that path now. I'm very happy with it. I think I've made a decision earlier than most, but also later than others. And so I think what I'm reminding myself now the most is I just have to stay on my own path. And
mm.
there's a lot of outside things that once you start paying attention to, there you're like, oh, I wish I started earlier, or like, oh, I wish I knew this, or like, I wish I was there instead of being here. But in some regard, you're a lot farther than most, and you're also a lot farther behind than others. And I think that's just reality. And so I think that's what you just have to get accustomed to, and just have confidence that your path will yield results when it needs to.
Well, uh, yeah, couldn't have said it better. Well,
Same thing for you, Paul. But I will say your path probably comes to Chicago, and then you can make some keep up with me, and we can do the dishes together now because there's so many of them. We can go out and sell. I'm telling you, hard talent is hard to come by. It seems labor is like one of the biggest issues that I've seen just across the restaurant industry. So,
mm, mm. Yeah, definitely.
all
Yeah,
right,
and
take care, Paul.
excited. We'll take note. I'll look at my schedule. We'll see when I can fly. Oh,
Yeah, because like now that you said your circumstances to me, now I'm invested in you over here. Um, so yeah, just let me know, man. I'm
mhm.
happy for you. I'm excited for these discussions. I now realize because I can't remember the last time. I don't remember what we talked about last time. So like I'm sure later when we look back on some of these videos, I'm sure it'll be really insightful for me, and hopefully it won't be too cringy.
No, it's gonna be good. And I think, yeah, I look back and I wish I sometimes would have recorded myself or made more documented some things.
Yeah, I appreciate it. These are
Because
these are very unfiltered thoughts for me, but I think that's what's the beauty of it. I think that's what's
yeah,
fun. So,
yeah. All right. Thank you, Michael. I'll see
all right,
you
brother.
next week.